Hello, my football family. Barbecue sauce. I had ribs tonight, so it's the sauce on the ribs. Anyway, hello, my football family. Professor Teaserking coming to you with Week 12 of NCAA. Another very strong week. Again, huge week last week. 4-0 on my locks. Again, Ohio State over, Georgia under, Western Kentucky laying the points, and Nevada is a live dog. 4-0, 12-2 against with all the others. For the fifth week in a row, it's been like this. It's just I finally have the A's and Z's proper, and I'm just seeing it really clear. I've added this weak defense to it, which really helps. So if you're debating on a game, it might lead you to an over, and it might lead you to betting against a weak defense because they're not going to beat you. They're laying, if you're laying 35, 40 points. So this week we have, as we're getting near the end, we're getting near the teams that are fighting for the divisions now. So like in the Big Ten, it's Michigan, it's Ohio State, it's Michigan State, and they're playing to win the East. And then you have Iowa and Wisconsin, if you can believe Wisconsin, for the West. Purdue's still there. We're game back, but I don't know if Purdue's played Wisconsin yet. If they haven't, then that's still alive, Purdue. So you got to take that into account. You got to take your over-unders. Again, we're looking at injuries. We're looking at new teams like Miami going over every week. Wisconsin seems to be playing better. More injuries. We're getting the whole feel of what's going on. And again, I'm not playing the MAC games tonight. Tomorrow is Louisville and Duke. I might play Louisville, but I don't like these Thursday games. They're out of sorts. Duke is the Z team. With the weak defense, Louisville scores a lot. The quarterback looks like he's playing. Let's see, Louisville's quarterback. He was questionable a couple weeks ago, but I know he's been playing, so he must be okay. Yeah, they don't even list the quarterback as a result. So let's just look at the games that I have kind of liked that are meaningful. So Houston 8.5 over Memphis, over under 60. Memphis is not scoring, have a weak defense. Houston needs the game for the title. It's them and Cincinnati are both undefeated. So Houston needs it. They're at home. I had a line at 14. They're only laying 8.5. I like Houston here down to 2.5. Probably an under game, but Memphis, you don't know if they're going to score or what quarterback comes out. But I think I just like Houston at home. They beat SMU at home. Granted, they needed a kickoff return with 30 seconds left to beat SMU, but should be tough. Air Force and Nevada. In Nevada, again, they both need it for the conference. Nevada laying 1.5 over under 52. They're both A teams. If I go with my thought, it's you tease the dog, you take Air Force in the 7.5. I'm not crazy about that. I more or less think of the over at 52. Nevada with Carson Strong is going to score. Air Force is going to score. See, Air Force isn't going to stop Nevada. San Diego State. So let's look at the San Diego State score last week. This was our lock. 23-21. San Diego State kicks a field goal at the end to win, 44. And that's probably what the score will be here. Here the over-under is 52. We can go over 46. I still think we get it. Nevada's defense isn't that strong. Air Force against Carson Strong. I mean, I just can't imagine this not getting into the 50s. In Nevada. San Diego State's got a really strong defense, holding them to 21, but I just think that Air Force defense is not as strong, but I think Air Force is going to score. But Air Force is more of a passing team than Army, so I look for them to pass the ball more. So I don't want to really mess with Nevada here. I could take Air Force in 7.5, but not against Nevada, which makes me like the over in the game a little bit more. over 46. Keep your eye on the weather. It's in Nevada. It's in the mountains. Is it going to snow? So watch the weather. If you see the over-under coming down to 50, 49, you probably got bad weather. But so keep an eye on it. Again, I had Nevada laying 7. They're only laying 1.5. So depends on what the line does. But we might, I'd love to get Nevada plus 6. Excuse me. San Diego State, Vegas. San Diego State minus 11. They need the game. They did beat Nevada. They're more of a B team. They don't really score that much, and they got a really good defense. Vegas is a W with a weak defense. I think San Diego State can score a lot more on Vegas, and now that they beat Nevada, I don't think it's a letdown. Now when the championship's on the line, now they're not going to let down. So I like San Diego State laying the 5. Over under, I don't like 41.5. It's just too low to really play over under. I mean, you can only play it over, but with San Diego State's strong defense, they're not going to score a lot. But because Vegas is such a weak defensive team, I think they score enough and they shut them out 30-0 or something like that. Virginia, Pitt. Pitt 14.5, 66. I think that's Virginia's an over team. They got a weak defense, so Pitt's going to score on them with I can't think of the quarterback's name. How do I forget? Pickett. So I think Pitt scores a lot. Virginia, I don't know. I think they can score a little on Pitt, but I think Pitt pulls away. Wins, again, they win by 10 to 20, over under 66. With Virginia, with such a weak D, it's either an over or it's take Pitt minus 8.5 because they're going to score a lot on Virginia. The question is, how much will Virginia score back? Let's look at last week. Virginia played they played somebody. Virginia. They played Notre Dame. Okay, no, all right. The quarterback was out. So if the quarterback is still out, let's see what they list the Virginia quarterback at. So if he's still out, then we lock Pittsburgh. Virginia. Quarterback Armstrong's questionable with ribs. So ribs is not something that you easily get over. So if he's questionable with ribs, he probably doesn't. They don't, Miami. They're playing Pitt. Yeah, Virginia's got 2 losses in the conference. They do need the game, but I can't imagine Armstrong with the ribs. Didn't play against Notre Dame, maybe because it wasn't a conference game, and here they get Pitt. So this line tells me he's playing with hurt ribs, which then makes you go over. But since his ribs are hurt, is he going to last the game? So that makes me take Pitt minus 8.5. So watch the quarterback. If Armstrong's out again, Pitt's going to kill him because Pitt needs the game for the conference. Cincinnati, SMU. Cincinnati 11.5, 65. SMU's an over team, as we know. They played Houston very tough. Houston's the other undefeated team. Cincy needs the game, but they haven't been winning by a lot. The question is this the game they finally get it together because they're scared to lose to SMU? And this is what we don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't really love Cincinnati in the game. I more love SMU getting 17.5 with that offense. Cincinnati's just not been playing well. They've not been putting up a lot of points. So I don't see them putting up a lot here. With their defense, I can't go over 65. I'm not going to play SMU under. So it looks like it's an SMU play. Watch the line. If you can get it under 7, maybe you take Cincinnati. But with 17.5, I think it's an SMU play. They just score too much. And, even since he's got them, Cincinnati hasn't been blowing out Tulsa, Tulane, even last week. They're not scoring a lot, and they're not going to hold SMU down. In a non-game, non-conference, Army and Mass. Mass is the worst team alive. They're a Z team. Terrible, weak defense. Army's laying 36.5, over under a 56. This is a game that I think I actually like Army laying 30, and normally I would not taking Army and this many points, but the fact that they've been scoring a ton, and they're going to what's UMass going to do? They're not going to be able to defend it. Army, every possession is going to score a touchdown because their game's just to run the ball, and if they keep running, they keep scoring. It's not like a passing team and they start running to eat the clock. Army, that's all they do, but Army's been scoring a lot. So I look at Army laying 30.5 to kill UMass. I think they beat them by 50 without a problem because UMass is so bad. I don't see UMass coming back like Western Kentucky did. Miami 7.5 over VTech. VTech lit up Duke. Over under again, only 55. VTech, I kind of got as an under team. Let me see why. Miami has the weak defense. They score 30, give up 30. They're going to get 30 on anybody. Let's see. VTech scores 24, gives up 21, but they're not that strong defensively. They're very weak offensively, but against Miami, I look for them to get into the 20s. Miami will get into the 30s as a 50. You got 55. All you need is 49.5. I don't see a big injury on Virginia Tech. Miami, again, with the weak defense, scores 32, gives up 30. Van Dyke's wonderful. They throw for 300. They're going to score and score. They're going to have trouble holding Virginia Tech. I love this game over. Definitely an over game here. And Miami's an over in most games. The problem with Virginia Tech, they played Clemson, and if they play the tougher teams and they don't, their defense is good, but they're not scoring. But when you get a team like a Duke, like last week against Duke, for example, Virginia Tech, all of a sudden, they score. They won 48-17. So here's a under team, but when they play Duke, scores 48, which makes me feel they're going to score on Miami at least 30. Miami is going to get their 30 because you don't stop this Miami team. So there you go. I love the game over because of the number being 55.5. Michigan State, Ohio State. Ohio State laying 19. Over-unders up to 66.5. Brutal line. See, last week the line was 61-62, and they had it covered at half. Are they going to do the same thing against Michigan State? Well, if we look at the numbers, Ohio State 46-20, Michigan State 34-22. So both defenses have gotten weaker. They both were under 20. Again, Purdue put up 40 on Michigan State, puts up 30-something on Ohio State. Ohio State gets 550 yards a game. Michigan State 450. So this should be an offensive game. It's high, so I don't know that I can lock it like last week's Purdue game, but I certainly think I can play it. I think it's about where it should be, but so we do 60, right? 66 over 60. Ohio State's going to get at least the 40. Michigan State should get in the upper 20s, 68, 70 points is about right. So you got 60. So I think they definitely go over in this game. I think it's the only way to play it. Michigan State sometimes surprises Ohio State. They've had their number throughout the years. I remember Ohio State being a 14-point favorite at home, 10 years ago, and it was really a rainy day. And Michigan State won the game like 14-7. They beat Urban Meyer in a strange game. It was like just poured the whole game. So check the weather on this. But if the weather's clear, I think it's an over game. I think Michigan State can score. They got the running back and a good quarterback. And Ohio State, Michigan State's not going to stop them. So it's a question of, do you want to lay 13 or do you want to go over 60? And I think either way is a good bet. Let's see what the line does. It was 18. You could have went over 12, which is a good. Again, you're getting under 14, which is good, and then 60 is a good over. Michigan needs. So both those teams need it. Michigan needs it. And they got Ohio State next week. 14.5. Will they be looking ahead? I don't think so because they have to win. They've got the loss. They were undefeated. They'd be looking ahead. They got the loss, 14.5 over a weak Maryland team who has no defense. They'll shut down Tagliabue against all the good teams. He's done nothing. Michigan State only laying 8.5. I love Michigan minus the 8.5 there. Liberty 4.5 over Lou Lafayette. Lou Lafayette's undefeated in the Sun Belt. I believe they're Sun Belt. And Liberty, 4.5, a good team, over under 53. An A against the B. I'm not going to go over on the game. Lou Lafayette and 10.5. It's not a must win because Liberty's not in the conference. But I just like Lou Lafayette as the dog in this one. Purdue 11 over Northwestern. I think Purdue, they're a game back of Wisconsin and Iowa. They beat Iowa. So if Wisconsin loses, then they're right in it. They played Michigan State well. They beat Iowa. They played Ohio State well. They put up 31 points. I mean, their defense let them down. But in this game, Northwestern has no offense. I think Purdue laying the 5 is gold here. I think that's a very cheap spread. Minnesota laying 7 to Indiana. Indiana's terrible. They're on their 4th-string quarterback who sucks. Their defense is weak. Minnesota looks pretty good, and they have to. They're a game back too. I don't know. I don't remember what they did with Iowa and Wisconsin, but again, if they lose, Minnesota's right back in it. So again, they could win. Hey, Todd. Sure. Vegas has 75% of money on Michigan State. What with the points? Because the points are going the other way. Ohio State went from 18 to 19, so usually that would mean the money's going on Ohio State. Normally, that's how the line moves. I'm not quite sure. The 7 is that money line? Is that because the regular line would be? It would have moved down to Ohio State 17 or 16 if all the money was going on Michigan State. That's normally how the line moves. It's based on the betting, moving it down. They're trying to balance their books. So if that's true, why aren't we seeing Ohio State lower? So if you can get Ohio State, if it goes down to 16, you can get it to 10. I love that. So I don't know, Todd, on the night why the spread's going on Ohio State then. So Purdue, Minnesota, Wake Forest, and Clemson. Wake Forest is the team that needs it, not Clemson. Wake Forest, I want to say, is undefeated in conference. No, they lost to North Carolina, so they've got the one loss. They need the game. They're an over team with a great quarterback. They're getting 4.5, over under 56.5. Against Clemson. Now, Clemson started scoring a little bit more last week. They should score a little bit. Clemson should put up 30 on Wake Forest should put up 30 on Clemson. But Clemson, I think, starting to score, could put up some points. Wake Forest, weak defense, as you saw the North Carolina game. So I'm not sure if I like Wake Forest in 10.5 or I like over 57, but I like both of them. I just do I really want to bet against Clemson? But I think with Wake, I think they're such a strong offense. I love Hartman. I think Wake 10.5 is going to be good. Wisconsin 9 against Nebraska. I don't like the game. Over under 42. It's too low. I would like Nebraska in the 15 here, but I can't trust them. I can't trust Wisconsin, so I'm just going to watch it. But Wisconsin needs it. Western Kentucky, Florida Atlantic. I don't think either team needs it, but Western Kentucky laying 10. I kind of like the over of 64.5. Western Kentucky scores and has a weak defense, and Florida Atlantic can score. Let's take a quick look at their numbers. Let's see. Come on. So Western Kentucky scores 41 and gives up 29. Florida Atlantic puts up 27 and gives up 23. So Florida Atlantic can score. They got Nikoski Perry, the Miami quarterback. They get 400 yards a game, pretty balanced. As far as I know, he's healthy and playing. I lost one bet with him when he got hurt in the game, but he came back the next week. 64. So Western Kentucky is going to put up their 40. Florida Atlantic should put up 30. I think you're looking at a 70, and at 64, you need 58.5. I think that's very doable. Western Kentucky, just a great quarterback. They score a lot. Oregon and Utah. This is where they both have the division clinched, and yet this is probably the Pac-10 championship game in a couple weeks. So I don't know what this game means. Utah's 3.5-point favorite, over under 59. Again, Oregon, I keep saying it, they won at Ohio State. And since I've said it, they've won all their games. They lost to Stanford on a really bad penalty, on an interference that was not interference. They keep rolling. They beat Washington. Here they got Utah. Utah scoring a lot. Oregon will score. They don't have the great defense. Let's look at their defenses. Utah usually has a great defense. They score 35, give up 23. Oregon scores 35, gives up 22. They're identical. They both get 440 yards. They're like identical. 220 yards for Utah throwing, 215 running. Oregon 215 passing and 230 running. And the running quarterback, since Utah switched to Rising, they've scored a ton. That 35 is probably more like 40. I really like this game over, just because Utah's going to put up 40 in the game, and Oregon should keep it competitive. So I really like that game over. Again, the thought process is this is a low over-under game. They're not. Here's where I'm really catching Vegas. I'm catching them a lot on Miami, Florida, but here Utah is another team that was kind of low scoring, and now they switch quarterbacks, and now they're just scoring 40, 50 points, and Vegas still has them at 59. This game should be 65, like the Ohio State game. So the difference is Ohio State's 66, so you got to go over 60 here. This game's only 59. All I got to do is go over 53 with very similar type of teams. So that's what makes it a lock, and that's what makes it a stronger play is the numbers is, I'm a touchdown less, 66 to 50. So I'm 7 points less. Then I tease it with teams that score a ton. So again, watch the weather. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. Notre Dame needs the game. They're laying 17. Georgia Tech with the weak defense. Over under a 60. I got Georgia Tech as an over, but against Miami, they got so many turnovers for points. Notre Dame at home, it's probably their last home game, and Jesus will be there in the end zone rooting for him. So I like Notre Dame laying 11. I think that number's gone up. I think from 13 to 17. Laying a lot, keep it under 14. I like Notre Dame. Don't lock it, but the spread's too high for a lock, but I like it. Arizona State, Oregon State. Arizona State. Now this game, Arizona State needs Utah to lose to have a chance at the title. Oregon State, as you know, I love them. They're very strong. They're getting 3.5 at home, over under a 59. Oregon State's an over, not a weak defense, but they're going to be an over. They score 34, give up 26, and Arizona State scores 30 and gives up 21. I like the game over, but I like Oregon State as a home dog a lot too. They beat Utah at home. They struggled as a road favorite to Washington State, and then they lost as a road favorite to Cal. But when they're dogs, they're unbeaten. UCLA 3.5 over SC. SC's quarterback Slovis is out, which makes the game now. I thought about over without Slovis, unless Dart's playing. I can't bet USC over. I can't bet USC, and I only got to lay 3.5. Something's wrong with this spread if Slovis is out. I had UCLA laying 7, just 3.5. So I like UCLA here. Just laying 3.5. Their quarterback's back, and USC with Slovis, I was going to bet it over, but without Slovis, and he's out, not like he's questionable. I definitely like UCLA there. App State, Troy. App State again looking to win the title. Another strange spread. I got this line App State minus 21. They're the A team in the league with Coastal Carolina. Troy's an under. Troy's not very good. App State's only 9.5. They only got to win by 3.5. I love that one. 3.5 with App State. Absolutely. Let's go. Alabama, Arkansas. Alabama, I think they have already clinched. No, Ole Miss is a game behind, but they beat Ole Miss. So Alabama would have to lose too. So they got this game and the Auburn game. Bo Nix is out in the Auburn game, by the way. Did I not talk to Auburn? I might not have because they didn't need it. Auburn 7.5 over South Carolina, but without Bo Nix. But South Carolina is terrible. So let's watch the Auburn quarterback, see who the backup is. Alabama 21 against a good Arkansas team, over under a 58. I like the over in this game. Arkansas is not bad, and Alabama had trouble with LSU, and they had trouble with Texas A&M. They got a good defensive team with Arkansas who can run the ball, which makes them dangerous. Well, let's take a look at the numbers. So when we look at it, Alabama scores 44 and gives up 18, 485 yards, mostly passing. Arkansas, they score 30, they give up 22, and good quarterback, and they get 200 yards rushing or passing, 230 rushing. They're very balanced. Good running quarterback, which gives Alabama problems. Yeah, I see over in the game. I'm tempted to take Arkansas in 27, but I don't really want to mess with Alabama. But I do think overs, even though they played LSU 2014, I just think that, they got healthy on New Mexico State. What the hell are they playing New Mexico State for? So I do like this game at Alabama. I'm not going to fuck with minus 15. I think it's too, I wouldn't want to go over 14 against a good Arkansas team. But 58, I think you go over there. Now, in contrast to the Georgia game, Georgia, what did they do? They beat them 37-0. I guarantee you Alabama will not shut out Arkansas. And after seeing the Georgia defense, the Alabama defense will look like a picnic. So I definitely like over 58 down to 52. I think that number is low. Alabama's going to get in the 30s on Arkansas. Arkansas should score. This could even be a close game in the 35-28 varieties. So this could be a 60, 65-point game very easily. Oklahoma 3.5 over Iowa State. Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State are really looking for the title. Oklahoma, I had minus 14, is down to 3.5. Really choose the quarterback. I kind of like Iowa State in this game, but I'm not going to. They just don't play well enough. Over under a 60. I think this is probably an under, but again, this is a game I don't really have a feel. Iowa State normally has a good defense, is not playing as strong. They're missing the running back. Montgomery, who's playing for the Bears. Oklahoma has no quarterback. I can't play the game over. Oklahoma piles on their points against weak team. Look at them last week against Baylor. This is a little different. Where I like Iowa State, I'm not playing them. Oklahoma might squeeze out a win because they're at home, but this is a little different game, not like the Baylor game. Marshall, 15 over Charlotte. Marshall needs the game for their conference. Again, I think it's a little high, laying 15. Charlotte has a weak defense, hasn't really done much. Marshall's been kind of inconsistent. I don't love Marshall like I did last year. This is a team like Buffalo that kind of got a new coach and they're not playing very well. So I'm going to lay away from Marshall, but it is a game where they should win because they need the game for the conference. But keep in mind, just because you need the game does not mean you get the game. You got to be a strong team to really need it and get it. Speaking of that, UTSA, UAB, that's for their conference. UTSA minus only 4.5. I had them minus 10. They had a close call with Southern Miss, who ran the ball 1,000 times. Let's look at they turned in a Navy on me overnight. Okay, UTSA scores 38, gives up 19. Good, strong team. McCormick and Harris. McCormick's the one it's like Sinceri McCormick, great running back. 447. This is a great team, UTSA. They're undefeated. UAB scores 28, gives up 21. and they only get 381. I gotta like UTSA at home in a must-win game against the okay UAB team. They're not explosive, and their defense is okay, but all they got to do is win. And I like UTSA there, and just to win. Oak State needs the game. They got next, not this week, but next week. Only laying 10 against Texas Tech. Oak State's defense is going to crush them. They're going to score big. Oak State's been playing much better. And let's see, they scored 32 and only give up 16. They get this great defense. Warren, the running back, really lit it up last week. They're very balanced, 200 yards passing and rushing. Texas Tech scores 33 and gives up 33. They got the weak defense. So it's 33-33, but you're not going to score a lot on Oak State, and that's the difference. They're going to give up a lot. Oak State will score a lot, but I don't think Texas Tech's going to keep up. You only lay in 4 in a must-win game for Oak State because they do have the one loss, and they got Oklahoma coming up. So they're not going to be looking ahead because they can't afford to lose, and that's the key here. Kansas State won over Baylor. Baylor needs the game. Let's look at Kansas State. Scored 28, give up 21. They don't get anything. They get 370. They run that little option with the quarterback. It's a lot of little 5-yard plays. Baylor, as we know, is a god. They're an A team, 35-19. Bohannon, good quarterback, 453, 220 passing, 230 running. I love him as a dog. I love him again. Baylor is the dog. Now, I love that more than I like Oak State. Baylor getting now is Baylor going to be flat after beating Oklahoma? No, because they have to keep winning. There's only a couple games left. They're a dog, which means they're going to be pissed. How did we beat Oklahoma and we're a dog to K-State? I look for Baylor as a dog here to win a game straight out again. And the last one's Utah State, 5.5 over Wyoming. They're an over team. Wyoming's an under team. Small play on Utah State at home. They have to win. Wyoming's not been playing that well, so I could see Utah State winning. I haven't made my picks yet. I mean, I just went over them, and I like going over them. They really solidify. Like I'm writing as I'm doing the games. I'm writing lock, and I like it. So another boatload of games. As I talk to you about them, I really get cemented. Like the Clemson Wake Forest game, I'm still a little torn between Wake or the over. I'm trying to. It's all about how much will Clemson score, right? I don't think Clemson blows out Wake, which makes me love Wake. I don't see any injuries, and then I don't see if Clemson's going to score. Then it makes it an over 50, which is 28-24. Well, Wake's going to should be in the 30s. Pitt got 27 on them now. Keep in mind, Clemson's got the good defense. Clemson is the under team, but an under team against an over team like this, where Wake's such a good over team, it's hard not to take Wake in the 10.5. Clemson's not going to blow them out because they really don't score that much. So it almost makes the Wake in 10.5 the play, figuring they're going to score, and then Clemson. For the Wake not to cover, Clemson's got to beat them by 20, and I don't see that happening. I don't see them stopping Wake. Pitt and North Carolina State beat them, two teams with good defenses. Wake has the best, as like a Pitt offense, so Pitt scored 27 on Clemson. I just don't see Clemson blowing them out with this quarterback. So I think this makes a Wake Forest. Then you got the minor games like Purdue and Minnesota and Michigan. The Oregon-Utah game, Notre Dame must win. UCLA, it looks like the quarterback's out now. They don't need to win. They're not in the playoff or in the picture for it. But that's what you got. Your playoff teams, Alabama. I'm not going to mess around with Arkansas, but I think I'll take that game over. You've got Ohio State playing Michigan State. I think that game I think the only way you can play it is over because I think Michigan State does score enough, which makes the over much more attractive. Any other, Todd? I like TCU over Kansas minus 14. Yeah, well, TCU, the coach quit, so that makes it how do they play without the coach? Yeah, Kansas is the Z team, but then look what Kansas did last week to Texas. They put up 60 points on Texas. And I know Texas is a good team, but they got a weak defense. Both these teams have a weak defense. I'll tell you, I'd almost, the over-under is like 65. I almost think 59 over could be a better way to play it because they both have weak defenses. And Kansas, again, was that a fluke they put up 60 points on Texas? I don't know. That's where it's hard to tell when the Z team becomes, now it's an over. You know, they got a bad defense, but now are they finding it? I thought their quarterback Bean was hurt, so the backup came in and lit it up. So I don't know that I trust TCU because Kansas being a Z team with their output last week, and they did it against Duke, who's a real dog. But, I mean, you put up all those points on Texas, I'm not sure they won't put up all – TCU's no bargain either. They're not an A team. They're an over team. The coach is gone, so really how are they going to play? So I don't know about that, Todd. I think I like the game over, but I understand your concept of going against the Z team. I think Army I like better, even though they're laying 36. You go over 30, but think about what Army's going to do. They're going to run it down their throat, and there's nothing UMass can do about it. UMass is going to throw a couple interceptions and turnovers, and they're not going to score. This should be 50-0 Army, I think. Because Army's been scoring a lot. I think it was last week or the week before. Army was in a similar situation and put up this huge number. Army. What did Army do last week? It might have been 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I don't see Army. Oh, I think they played a high school team. Yeah, Army beat Air Force 21-14. Maybe the week before. Army was laying a ton and won by a ton. Well, here, Liberty against Mass, 62-17. Where's that Army game? I know they put up a ton on somebody. Can't find them. They beat Air Force. I thought they killed somebody last week. I apologize. Let me. It's a shame I can't memorize 60 games a week. Army. No, it must have been the week before. See here, UAB beat Marshall 21-14. That's why I don't love Marshall this week. They need the game, but that doesn't mean anything. Well, I'll go back one more week. Maybe it was week 8. I know there was a game they were laying a ton, and they won by a ton. Yeah, here. Against Wake Forest, they lost 70-56. They put up 56 on Wake. There was a game they won by a ton as the favorite, but they're putting up 56 on Wake, so that makes that Clemson over look pretty good. Army high scoring, 42 points by half. Hopefully they don't put in their second. Yeah, but the thing with Army is they play 4 quarterbacks anyway. So even if they bring in the second or third string quarterback, they're just going to just pound the ball, right? But that's what they do. So when they go to the backup, he just keeps pounding the ball. UMass is not going to be able to do anything against it, right? They don't have the skill or the defense to shut them down like an Ohio State would or Georgia would shut them out, but they don't have that type of defense. So UMass is just going to score, and then they're going to pick off UMass. They won't score. I think you're looking at 50-0 there. But if you want to go against the Z team, I look at Army. Louisville maybe 20 over Duke. Washington State's playing Arizona, but they didn't look too bad. Minnesota I like over Indiana because they're only laying 7 and they need the game. So you got mini -1 against the Z team in Indy. That's probably a good one. And then Boise, New Mexico. New Mexico's a W. But, sometimes you get the matchups. Probably the best one is Louisville's an over against Duke's a Z. Only laying 20, you lay 14. I think I like that better than TCU, Kansas. Again, it's just you got to, Duke's getting killed every game. Kansas, I would have said absolutely, but then here comes, Oak State killed them. But then, so Oak State's coming alive, right? They killed Kansas. They killed, Texas Tech or TCU last week. And here we got them against Texas Tech, and we're only laying 4. That's what you're looking at. That's where I go back to my roulette scenario, my backer scenario. Red keeps hitting, keep playing. Oklahoma State's scoring and that, and they got the great defense, and now they're scoring. And look out, just keep playing Oak State, Wake Forest, the Miami over, the Georgia under. So once you get that, you just keep going with it, and I think that's what we have here. So I'm trying to stay with what brought me. Again, Wake Forest over seems like the probable play, but Wake Forest and the 10.5 seems like a good play too. That's like last week. I liked Purdue in 28, and I liked the over, and I ended up going with the over, figuring that Ohio State's going to score. And I think I gave you the score. It was like 45-42, which was an 87, and the over-under was 61, and I think it was a safer bet than taking. And Purdue lost by 28, so you would have lost or tied with it. But the over was over at halftime, so that's why sometimes I like the overs when you get two big scoring teams. And Michigan State, Ohio State, again, neither team really has that shutdown defense, so I look for that to really go over. And you can see it's 66. I think that's. You get 60. I think 60 is an easy over in that game. Ohio State, just watch the weather. If it's pouring, it's again in Ohio, Michigan. It gets a little cold now and it's raining, but if it doesn't rain, it's definitely an over game. But that's it. I will post maybe tonight or probably tonight. I'm gonna go think about what I want. There's a couple of locks in here. Sunday, I definitely have some. I have some better games Sunday, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But I have at least 2 locks, if not more, in the pros. If Roethlisberger plays, I'm locking Pitt over San Diego. But again, if he doesn't play, I'm not. Arizona, if Murray plays, but if he doesn't play, so you've got now the injury bug. Tennessee, maybe Baltimore. They lose to Miami. I just don't. They should kill the Bears, but it's funny because like Tagovailoa and Fields and these Quarter and Lawrence, they don't do anything. It's not like they're throwing the ball over like Justin Herbert does. This is why I go. Justin Herbert looks like a quarterback. These guys look like a joke. And yet they win because of trick plays, or they go into the wildcat and the running back runs in the touchdown, and they'll go, oh, look what Fields won the game. I'm like, Fields didn't do shit. What are you talking about? So I'll have possibly 2 or 3 locks in the pros, and I'm sure I'll find my 3 or 4 locks in college and all my other strong plays, which I just gave you. So it's just a question of putting them together and taking them. I've already checked injuries, but again, I go on covers.com, which sometimes there's a player that you think's playing and he doesn't play, and you're going, or you got to be careful with the guy who gets hurt in the first quarter. Miami, they could be a lock laying 1.5, or the 55, I think, is way too low in that game. So we'll look for those. I got 3 or 4 locks in college circled. That we'll probably have. I'm done with Baltimore. Just blitz Jackson. You might beat them. If you blitz any of them, you'll beat them. You blitz Fields. If Baltimore were to blitz Fields and Chicago blitz Jackson, they wouldn't have a point in the game. The score would be 0-0. That's all you got to do against these running quarterbacks is blitz them. And it's like Earl Campbell, right? I used that example before where the Steelers with Joe Green and Lambert and Ham and all those guys, all they would do is they pressure Campbell and hit him in the backfield before he got running. And that's what you do with these running quarterbacks. Just pressure them, come in like Miami came in off the sides and there was nowhere for him to go. And he's too stupid to read a blitz. How do you not see the blitz and go, oh, I'm just going to dink it over? How do they not see that? I mean, it's Tom Brady one-on-one. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's Mahomes. That's how they live. So it's just amazing. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right, Todd. It's just blitz them. But yeah, I mean, Baltimore. Well, and then they go and they beat somebody 52 to. They beat Minnie, which Minnie should have won, and then they blew out somebody, Baltimore. If Roethlisberger's playing, Pitt will beat Baltimore probably both games. They know how to play them, and they play the tough blitzing defense. That's why he never has success against them. But that's what I look for. So I'll probably post either tonight or tomorrow. So don't worry about that. I just lost part of my tooth. Anyway, so I'll post the plays soon. Usually tonight I kind of, as I go through this, I get better things. And then by tomorrow I post, I might post Ohio State to keep the over before it explodes, or, sometimes I get the Miami game, but that over under doesn't seem to be moving. I got to make sure Virginia Tech's healthy, which they look like it. So I might check some box scores from last week. So until I finalize it, but those are most of the plays. But again, I like to keep with the hot team, and now it's the teams that need the game. I mean, we got that. So we see who needs it and who doesn't, and so that they have more motivation. All right. Anyway, I'm off. I got to go hit the pool and relax, and I will see everybody tomorrow, and I'll let you know what we like in the pros. So again, you're looking at who needs the game. You're looking at injuries. You're looking at the line. So you're picking your own score, and then you're picking the line. And if you see a line that doesn't look right, that's what we jump on, like the Miami over with Virginia Tech. But then when we look at Ohio State, Michigan State, we're like, that seems a little high because they are both fairly decent defenses, but not like an Iowa or Wisconsin defense. So that's what I like to see. But so you go through, all right, injuries, okay, they need it, okay, line, okay. So you do all your little checkoffs, and then off we go. And then it's the gut. Do I feel like like Clemson, Wake Forest? That's what I'm doing. What do I like? I like them both. It's which one do I like more? Is it safer to go over with Wake Forest, who's going to score a lot, and Clemson starting to score? Because Clemson does have a good defense and could hold Wake a little bit lower. Or do I take the Wake because Clemson can't score 20 points, and Wake will get in? I think Wake will get at least Pitt got 27 on them. I see Wake doing that easy. And then so the question is, can Clemson score 37? And if they do, then it's a 60, and then you go over. So it's what's Clemson, but even Clemson against Connecticut last week. Here's a perfect example. Here's Clemson playing the worst team in college football. They only put up 44. They went 44-7. Okay, the 7's understandable. They only scored 44 on Connecticut. So if I start using that reason, okay, they're probably getting the 20s against Wake. Wake's going to get at least in the 20s, if not the 30s. So, yeah, so it makes me like Wake and 10.5 a little bit more than others. All right, anybody else have any questions or comments, please leave them. I'll give you another minute, and then I am off. Again, another huge week in the locks. 5-0 last week with the locks. I finally had a pro lock that won Minnesota. That was nice. So I've been really hot on my locks, and I've been really hot on my college. Well, you hear my college picks here. Again, I called Baylor not even on the upside, so they're a better team, but I didn't even lock them. It kind of surprised me. It's like Wake here. I love Wake, but I'm not going to lock them against Clemson, and then they'll probably win easy, and then I'll say, why didn't I lock them? But that's what happens when they play really good teams. It becomes a little more risky, so I play them, but I don't lock them. I like locking against like the good over-under, like the Georgia under every week, the Ohio State over, Western Kentucky against the Z team, and then a strong Nevada dog. So the dog this week seems to be Wake Forest and Baylor, I would say, are the strongest two. Oregon State probably in there. And even SMU, I'm going to think about against Cincinnati. Again, I don't want to mess with Cincinnati too much, but they're just not scoring. And SMU, they score a ton. They give up a ton, but they score a ton. And you get 17 with SMU. That's an awful big number against kind of Cincinnati, who's not going anywhere. Okay, any more questions? I am going to leave. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, that's it. Have a nice night. Again, www.teaserking.com. Have a great night, everybody. All right, bye-bye.